first thing Elias Ward noticed about the station was how quiet it felt, even though more than 20 species lived and worked there. Sounds existed, of course. Soft hums of machines, distant footsteps, faint tones of alien speech. But none of it felt alive. Everything was careful, measured, controlled. Humans were not used to that. Elias had been on the station for 6 months now, officially as a cultural liaison, unofficially as an experiment. Humanity was still new to the galactic community, and many species were not sure what to do with them. Humans were loud, emotional, physically expressive. They laughed, argued, touched, and bonded in ways that made other species uncomfortable. Some even found it dangerous. Elias walked slowly through the wide corridor, his boots tapping softly against the smooth floor. Tall glass walls curved above him, showing a view of distant stars. He had seen the view many times, but it still made his chest feel heavy in a good way. Space always did that to humans. It reminded them how small they were, and how much they wanted to reach out anyway. He stopped near a shared research area and glanced inside. Several aliens were working at separate stations, each surrounded by faint light barriers or energy fields. No one sat close to anyone else. No one touched. They communicated through controlled signals, gestures, or devices. Elias leaned against the wall and watched. That was when he noticed her. She was smaller than most of the others, her body slim and almost fragile-looking. Her skin had a soft, pale tone that shifted slightly with the light, like it couldn't decide on a single color. Thin markings ran along her arms and neck, glowing faintly when she moved. Her eyes were large and dark, filled with focus and something else Elias couldn't place at first. Longing, maybe. She was watching him. Not openly, not in a way that would draw attention, but every few seconds her eyes lifted from her work and found him again. Each time she looked away quickly, as if afraid she had been caught doing something wrong. Elias straightened. Humans were good at noticing eyes on them. It was an old survival instinct. He gave her a small, polite nod. Her reaction was instant. She froze, her body going stiff, the glow on her skin flickering rapidly. Her hands trembled as she lowered her gaze and focused very hard on the console in front of her. Elias frowned slightly. That wasn't fear exactly. He had seen fear before. Sharp movements, defensive postures, energy spikes. This felt different, more like panic mixed with embarrassment. He pushed himself off the wall and continued down the corridor, but his thoughts stayed with her. Later that cycle, Elias sat alone in the station's human-designated common area. It was a strange space, clearly designed by non-humans trying their best to understand what humans needed. There were chairs, but they were too far apart. Tables, but no shared seating. Even the lighting felt cautious. Still, Elias appreciated the effort. He was reviewing reports on his wrist display when a notification appeared. Incoming message request. Non-human identifier. He accepted it. A soft symbol appeared on the screen, followed by translated text. Human Elias Ward. This unit requests permission to speak with you. Elias blinked. That wording again. So formal, so distant. Yes, he said out loud, knowing the system would translate. You can speak with me. There was a pause, long enough that Elias wondered if he had imagined the message. Then the same symbol appeared again. My name is Lyrae, the text read. I am a xenobiological researcher assigned to emotional response studies. I have been observing you. Elias raised an eyebrow. Observing me? Yes. Your species specifically. You are different. He smiled, faintly. We hear that a lot. Another pause. This one felt heavier. I would like to meet you, Lyrae said, in person. If you agree. Elias leaned back in his chair, surprised. Very few aliens requested direct meetings with humans outside of official duties. Even fewer did so voluntarily. I'm okay with that, he replied. Where would you like to meet? Research Garden 3, Leroy answered. It is a neutral space. There will be distance. No physical contact. Elias nodded to himself, though she couldn't see it. That's fine. The garden was one of Elias's favorite places on the station. Artificial, yes, but carefully designed. Soft plants from dozens of worlds grew in layered terraces, each separated by invisible environmental fields. The air smelled clean and faintly sweet. Leroy was already there when Elias arrived. She stood near one of the terraces, her hands folded together in front of her. Up close, Elias could see how delicate she truly was. Her movements were precise, controlled, as if every motion required thought. The faint glow of her markings pulsed slowly, like a quiet heartbeat. She did not look at him right away. Elias stopped several steps away, respecting the clear distance markers on the floor. Hi, he said gently. I'm Elias. She lifted her head. Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment, the glow on her skin brightened sharply. Then it dimmed again as she steadied herself. I know your name, she said. Her voice, translated into sound, was soft and almost musical. I have studied your files. He chuckled. I hope they weren't too boring. I do not find humans boring, Leroy replied. I find them overwhelming. Elias tilted his head slightly. In a bad way? No, she said quickly. In a way that hurts to observe. That made him pause. She took a slow breath, her chest rising and falling in a careful rhythm. My species evolved to limit emotional exposure. Strong feelings damage our neural structures. We survive by control, distance, suppression, and humans don't, Elias said. No, Leroy agreed. You do not. They stood there for a moment, surrounded by quiet alien plants and distant stars. Why did you want to meet me? Elias asked softly. Leroy's fingers tightened together. Because watching humans feels like watching something forbidden. You smile freely. You touch without fear. You bond quickly, deeply. You grieve openly and still continue. Her eyes darkened. My research began as academic interest. It did not remain that way. Elias felt a strange tightness in his chest. What did it become? She hesitated. For a long moment, Elias thought she might stop there. Then she spoke. Longing, Leroy said. Not for you specifically, but for what you represent. The glow on her skin flickered again, faster this time. I am dying, she added quietly. Elias's breath caught. What? My condition is not unusual for my species, she explained. Over time, emotional suppression causes internal collapse. It is slow, predictable. Accepted, accepted, Elias repeated, disbelief creeping into his voice. Yes, Leroy said. It is the price of survival. Elias clenched his jaw. Humans were bad at accepting things like that. She looked at him again, really looked at him. And this time, she did not look away.
I wanted to meet a human before the end, she said. To speak.
To understand. To know if what I feel when I observe your kind is real, or merely a flaw. Elias swallowed. It's real, he said. Wanting connection is never a flaw. Her glow brightened, just a little. They did not move closer. They did not touch. But in that quiet garden, something had already crossed the distance between them. And for the first time since arriving on the station, Elias felt that humanity's greatest difference was not strength, or technology, or courage. It was that they felt deeply, and chose to share it anyway. The days after their first meeting did not return to normal for Elias Ward. He noticed it in small ways at first. The station felt colder, even though the temperature had not changed. Conversations felt shorter. Faces felt more distant. It was as if meeting Lyrae had opened his eyes to something he could no longer ignore. The galaxy was not quiet because it was peaceful. It was quiet because it was afraid. Elias found himself thinking about her more than he expected. About the careful way she moved, as if every motion might break her. About the glow on her skin, how it reacted to emotion she tried so hard to hide. And about her words, "I am dying." Humans were not good at accepting that sentence. Not when it was spoken calmly. Not when it was treated as normal. 2 cycles later, Elias received another message request. It was from Lyrae. "I apologize for contacting you again so soon," her message read. "If this is inappropriate, I will withdraw." Elias responded immediately. "You don't need to apologize. I'm glad you reached out." There was a longer pause this time. "I would like to continue our discussions," Lyrae said. "If you are willing." "Yes," Elias replied. "I am." They met again in the research garden. Always at the same distance, always careful. But each time the silence between them grew thinner. Lyrae asked many questions. About human childhood, about families, about why humans hugged when words were enough to communicate information. Elias answered as simply as he could. He talked about comfort, about reassurance, about how sometimes touch said things language could not. "And it does not harm you?" she asked once. No," Elias said. "Sometimes it hurts emotionally, but physically? No. It helps us heal." Lyrae absorbed every word like it was precious. In return, she explained her species in more detail. "Unsafe for who?" Elias asked. "You're already dying." That question lingered between them. Later that cycle, Elias requested access to restricted medical archives. As a human liaison, he had limited authority, but humans were very good at asking the right questions. What he found disturbed him. Lyrae's species was not alone. Many galactic races suffered similar conditions. Emotional suppression prevented chaos, but it also caused long-term damage. The galaxy had chosen stability over fullness of life. Humans were the exception. Human brains were flexible. Emotional systems were strong, adaptable, and resilient. Humans bonded deeply and survived loss. They experienced intense emotion without neural collapse. Elias felt something shift inside him. The next time they met, he came prepared. "I've been reading medical studies," he said carefully. Lyrae stiffened slightly. "You should not involve yourself in this." "I already have," Elias replied. "Lyrae, what if your condition isn't a flaw? What if it's an incomplete adaptation?" She looked confused. "Explain. What if emotional suppression is what's killing you?" Elias said, "and not emotion itself." Her glow flickered unevenly. "That idea is considered dangerous," she said. "Unproven." "So was space travel," Elias replied softly. They stood in silence. "There is something I want to ask you," Lyrae said finally. Her voice was quieter than usual. "Go ahead." "If emotional connection is so important to humans," she asked, "why are you not afraid of losing it?" Elias smiled sadly. "We are afraid. All the time. But we do it anyway." "Why?" "'Cause a life without connection doesn't feel like living," he said. Her glow brightened, then pulsed painfully. She swayed slightly, and Elias took a half-step forward before stopping himself at the distance marker. "Lyrae?" he said. "I am stable," she said, though her voice sounded strained. That night, Lyrae dreamed. Her species rarely dreamed. Their minds were trained to rest without imagination. But this time was different. She dreamed of warmth. Not heat, but presence, of standing near something alive and unafraid. She did not understand the shapes, only the feeling. When she woke, her neural monitor showed unusual activity. For the first time since her diagnosis, the degradation had slowed. Only slightly, but enough to be noticed. The medical council called her in immediately. They questioned her, monitored her, ran scans. When they learned of her continued contact with the human, their response was cold. This interaction must end, they told her. Humans are emotionally hazardous. Lyrae listened quietly. She did not argue. But when she returned to her quarters, she sent Elias one final message. They are afraid, she wrote, of you, of what you represent.
I figured, Elias replied.
What do you want to do? There was a long pause. Then, I want to feel something real, Lyrae said, before the end. Elias stared at the message for a long time. Humans were not heroes because they were strong. They were heroes because when faced with fear, rules, and consequences, they still chose compassion. I'm with you, he finally replied. And somewhere deep within the station's systems, alarms began to prepare for a future no one else had planned for. The station changed after that message. It was not something Elias could point to on a map or measure on a screen, but he felt it. The air felt tighter. Security patrols passed more often. Conversation stopped when he walked by. Humans were rare here, and when a rare thing caused discomfort, it was easy to notice. Elias was called in for review 3 cycles later. The chamber was wide and empty, designed so no one had to sit close to anyone else. Holographic figures hovered in the air, representing members of the station authority and medical council. Their forms were abstract, distant, safe. Human Elias Ward, one of them said, voice flat and calm. You have exceeded your assigned role. Elias stood straight, hands relaxed at his sides. I've done my job. I built understanding. You have caused emotional instability in a vulnerable researcher, another voice replied. Your continued contact with Lyrae is no longer permitted. She's not unstable, Elias said. She's alive. A pause followed. Elias had learned that pauses often meant discomfort. Her condition is known, the first voice said. Her outcome is accepted. By you, Elias answered. Not by her. The glow of the holograms shifted slightly. Humans do not understand the cost of emotional exposure, the council said. Your species is dangerous because it does not fear what it should. Elias exhaled slowly. Fear isn't wisdom. Sometimes it's just fear. This discussion is concluded, the council replied. You are ordered to cease all non-essential interaction with Lyrae immediately. The connection ended. Elias stood alone in the chamber for a long moment. His heart beat hard in his chest, not from fear, but from anger. Quiet, steady anger. He did not contact Lyrae. Not that day. Not the next. And Lyrae noticed. She noticed in the silence between cycles, in the way her thoughts circled inward, with nothing to anchor them, in how the warmth she had begun to feel faded, replaced by the old familiar numbness. Her monitors showed the truth, even when she tried to ignore it. The degradation was accelerating again. The dreams stopped. She sat alone in her quarters, lights dimmed, hands resting on her knees. Her breathing was slow and controlled, as she had been taught since childhood. Suppression, control, survival. But something inside her resisted now. She had felt something else, something more, and once felt it could not be unfelt. She broke protocol first. Her message to Elias was simple. I am afraid. Elias received it while staring out at the stars. He did not hesitate. I'm coming to see you, he replied. You must not? She said. They are watching. I know, Elias answered. I don't care. He requested access to Research Wing 7, where Levi worked. The request was denied, so he went anyway. Humans had always been good at finding paths where others only saw walls. He did not run. He did not hide. He walked calmly, confidently, as if he belonged there. Most systems were designed to detect threat, not intention. By the time alarms noticed something was wrong, Elias was already standing outside Lyra's lab. She looked up when she sensed him. Her eyes widened. The glow on her skin flared brighter than Elias had ever seen it. You came, she whispered. I said I would, he replied. He stopped at the distance marker, breathing steady. You shouldn't have, she said, though her voice trembled. If they detain you, then they detain me, Elias said. I'm not leaving you alone. Her glow flickered wildly, and she staggered slightly. Levi, Elias said, alarmed. I am overwhelmed, she admitted. But not in pain. That was new. Security fields activated around the lab, sealing it off from the rest of the wing. Voices echoed through the speakers, ordering Elias to step back. He ignored them. Listen to me, Elias said softly.
Your body isn't breaking because of emotion. It's breaking because it's been starving.
She stared at him, breath unsteady. That contradicts everything we know. Everything you are taught, Elias corrected.
Humans don't suppress feeling. We learn to carry it.
How? She asked.
Together, he said. We don't do it alone. Her eyes filled with something that looked very much like tears, though they did not fall. I want to ask you something, she said, voice barely steady. Anything, if controlled contact were possible, she asked, would you stay? Elias's chest tightened. He understood the weight of what she was asking. Not physical closeness in a human sense. Not desire, but presence. Shared experience. Emotional proximity. Yes, he said without hesitation. I would. The lab's containment systems began to shift. A transparent energy field rose between them, layered and soft, designed for high-risk experiments. It would allow limited sensory exchange without direct physical contact. Lyra activated it with shaking hands. This is as close as I can safely come, she said. If my systems fail... They won't, Elias said. I'm right here. She stepped forward, so did he. The distance closed, not fully, but enough. Lyra gasped. Her glow surged, then stabilized into a steady, warm light. Her breathing slowed, deepened. The monitors behind her began flashing warnings, then adjusted, recalculating. Elias felt it too. Not touch, but connection. Like standing close to a fire without being burned. Like hearing a voice that spoke without words. It's warm, Lyra whispered. Not painful. That's connection, Elias said. It's not meant to hurt. Alarms blared louder now. Terminate the interaction immediately, the station authority demanded. No, Elias said calmly. Lyra straightened. For the first time in my life, she said, voice clear, my condition is stabilizing. The monitors confirmed it. Neural degradation slowed, then slowed more, then stopped. Silence fell. The council hesitated. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were supposed to be a risk. Emotion was supposed to be dangerous, but the data was undeniable. Lyra looked at Elias, wonder filling her eyes. I feel alive, she said. Elias smiled, though his eyes burned. That's what we've been trying to tell the galaxy. The containment field began to power down automatically, responding to stable readings. Lyra did not step back. Instead, she whispered, barely audible over the fading alarms. Please, human, Let me be with you just once. Not in body, in feeling, in presence, in truth. Elias did not move away, and in that moment, the galaxy stood on the edge of something it had avoided for a very long time. Feeling. The silence after the alarm stopped felt heavier than the alarms themselves. Elias and Lyrae stood facing each other, the containment field still faintly glowing between them. Around them, the lab lights shifted to emergency mode, casting long shadows across the floor. Outside the sealed walls, movement echoed, security units taking position, authority figures preparing responses. Lyrae's glow remained steady. That alone terrified the council. The monitors displayed her readings clearly. Neural activity was balanced, stress indicators were elevated but controlled. The degradation that had defined her final years had not only stopped, it had stabilized. This was impossible. "This data must be incorrect," one council voice said over the speakers. "It is not," replied the medical system, neutral and precise. Elias exhaled slowly. His hands were trembling now, not from fear, but from the weight of what they had done. He knew, deep down, that this moment would not be allowed to end quietly. Lyrae looked at him, her expression calm but filled with emotion. She no longer tried to hide. "They will separate us," she said softly.
I know, Elias replied.
"They may remove you from the station," she continued. "Or worse." He smiled gently. Humans don't scare easy. "That is what frightens them," Lyrae said. The lab doors unlocked with a sharp sound. Security entered, not rushing, not aggressive, but firm and absolute. Energy restraints activated around Elias, hovering close but not touching. Lyrae remained untouched, isolated, behind another field. "You will step away," the authority demanded. Elias did not resist as the field guided him backward. He kept his eyes on Lyrae. "This wasn't a mistake," he said loudly. "You can see the data. You can't pretend it didn't happen." The council chamber reformed around them moments later. Elias stood alone at its center. Lyrae appeared as a projection, her physical body confined elsewhere for safety. "Human Elias Ward," the council said. "You have violated multiple protocols." "Yes," Elias replied simply. "You exposed a vulnerable species member to emotional overload." "No," Elias said. "I helped her survive. This is not your decision to make." "That's where you're wrong," Elias answered. "It is always the individual's decision to live fully." The council reacted with visible discomfort. "Your species lacks restraint," one voice said. "You feel too much. You interfere." "We care," Elias replied. "There's a difference." Lyrae's projection stepped forward. "I requested the interaction," she said clearly. "I consented. I understood the risk." "You were impaired," the council replied. "I was dying," Lyrae said. "There is a difference." The chamber went quiet. Elias looked up at her, pride and worry mixing in his chest. "The results cannot be ignored," another council member said reluctantly. However, widespread emotional exposure would destabilize galactic order. "Order built on fear," Elias said. "Order built on survival," the council corrected. "Survival without living isn't survival," Elias replied. The council deliberated. Time passed slowly. Outside the chamber, the station buzzed with rumors. Other species had noticed the anomaly. Data spread quietly through secure networks, whispers of a human who broke the rules without breaking anything else. Finally, the council spoke. "Human Elias Ward will be removed from the station, effective immediately." Lyrae's glow flared.
No, she said. This is final, the council replied.
"Your continued interaction is prohibited." Elias felt something twist inside him. Not fear, not regret, but resolve. "Then I'll go," he said calmly. "But I'm not taking this back. You will not be permitted further contact." "Then make sure you remember what you saw," Elias said, "because you can't erase it." He was escorted from the chamber. Lyrai was alone again. But something had changed. Her quarters felt different now. Less empty, less cold. She could still feel the echo of presence, of shared emotion, like warmth lingering after a light faded. Her monitors showed stability holding, even without Elias nearby. The council watched carefully. Days passed. Then weeks. Lyrai did not decline. Instead, she improved. Other researchers noticed. They ran tests. They asked questions. Quiet ones. Dangerous ones. Eventually, one of them asked Lyrai something no one ever had before. What did it feel like? She thought carefully before answering. "It felt like being seen," she said, "and not being destroyed by it." That answer spread faster than the data. Meanwhile, Elias was confined to a transport vessel, waiting for relocation back to human space. He stared out at the stars, jaw tight, replaying every moment. He did not regret it, but he worried. Then a message appeared on his private channel, encrypted, unauthorized. From Lyrai. "They are testing emotional interface models," she wrote, "based on our interaction." Elias sat up straight. "They won't admit it openly," she continued. "But they are afraid of losing something important." "What about you?" Elias replied. "I am still stable," she said.
"More than that, I am curious."
Hopeful. Hope, thou. The word hit Elias harder than any threat. Another message followed.
They want to try again, with others.
Carefully. Quietly, Elias smiled, slow and tired. "That's how change starts," he wrote back. The transport ship jumped to faster than light shortly after. Elias left the station behind, but humanity did not. Across the galaxy, reports began appearing of patients who responded positively to limited emotional exposure, of humans who could serve as stabilizing anchors rather than threats. The council issued no apology, but they issued no punishment either. Lyrai stood once more in the research garden weeks later, surrounded by others of her kind. A human observer stood at a respectful distance, trained, prepared. Lyrai closed her eyes and stepped closer. Not fully, not recklessly, just enough. Her glow remained steady, and for the first time in galactic history, fear loosened its grip. Somewhere far away, Elias felt it too. A quiet certainty that humanity's greatest strength was never force or technology or dominance. It was the courage to feel deeply and invite others to do the same. The ship that carried Elias back to human space moved quietly through the stars. No alarms, no escorts, just distance. He had expected anger to stay with him, or regret. But what remained instead was a calm certainty. Whatever happened next, the galaxy could not forget what it had seen. Elias spent much of the journey staring out at space, thinking of Lyrai, not her appearance, but her presence, the way her glow had steadied, the way her voice had changed when she stopped suppressing herself. Humans called that hope. Back on the station, Lyrai stood before the council once more. This time she was not alone. Around her hovered projections, data streams, and medical records from dozens of species. The evidence had grown too large to hide. Emotional interface trials had expanded quietly after Elias's removal. Carefully chosen volunteers, controlled exposure, always with humans present. The results were consistent. Stability, improvement, longer life expectancy, not for all, but for many. "This contradicts galactic doctrine," one council voice said. "It contradicts galactic fear," Lyrai replied. Her glow was steady now. Not bright, not dim, balanced. "You were prepared to let us die slowly?" she continued. Because it was quiet, predictable, safe. Another voice responded. Safety preserved civilization at the cost of living, Lerai said. The council did not interrupt her this time. We feared emotion because we did not understand it, she said. Humans do not suppress emotion. They learn to carry it. Together, the word echoed through the chamber. Together. Silence followed. Then, for the first time in recorded galactic history, the council asked a question instead of issuing a command. What do you propose? Leray closed her eyes briefly. Choice, she said. Not enforcement, not denial. Let those who wish to feel, feel, with guidance, with care, with humans who are willing. Fear rippled through the chamber, and something else. Curiosity. Weeks later, Elias arrived on Earth. The sky was blue, loud, alive. He stood on a viewing platform outside a human research center, breathing in air that smelled of rain and metal and people. He felt heavier than when he left, but stronger too. His wrist display chimed. Incoming message from an unknown galactic channel. His heart jumped before he even read it. I hope this reaches you, the message said. I was told humans appreciate directness. Elias smiled before he realized it. I am well, the message continued. I am alive, more than I was before.
He sat down slowly. The council has approved a limited cultural exchange, Lyrae wrote.
Voluntary. Transparent. Human presence requested. Elias let out a long breath. They want you, she added. Me? He replied. Why? Because you did not treat me like a problem, she answered. You treated me like a person. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had not saved it with weapons or brilliance or force. It had simply done what it always had. It felt, and in doing so, it reminded the universe that living was more than surviving. Far across the stars, the galaxy began to feel back how emotional suppression began early in life. How children were trained to control reactions before they fully understood them. How affection existed, but at a distance, through ritual, through symbols, never through closeness. Have you ever touched someone? Elias asked gently. She hesitated. Once, when I was very young. It caused damage. Since then, I have only observed. The glow along her arms dimmed slightly as she spoke. As days passed, their conversations grew longer, less formal. Lerai began to look at Elias more directly, holding his gaze for longer moments. Sometimes her glow would flicker, and she would pause, breathing carefully until it settled again. One day, Elias noticed something different. She looked tired. Her movements were slower. Her glow weaker. There were faint lines beneath her eyes that had not been there before. Are you okay? He asked. I am within expected parameters, she replied. Elias frowned. That's not an answer. She studied him for a moment, then nodded slightly. My condition is progressing faster than projected. His chest tightened.
Why? I believe it is because of you, Lyrai said.
He froze. Because of me? Yes, she said calmly.
Observing you. Speaking with you.
It increases emotional activity. That accelerates neural degradation. Then we should stop, Elias said immediately. If I'm making it worse? No, Lyrai said quickly, her glow flashing bright for a second before dimming again. Do not misunderstand. I do not regret it. She stepped back slightly, steadying herself. For the first time in my life, I feel awake. Even if it shortens my remaining time, it has value. Elias clenched his fists at his sides. Humans did not measure life that way. Not in time alone. There has to be another option, he said. Some treatment. Some solution. There is none approved, Lyrae replied. Emotional exposure is considered unsafe, Elias laughed softly. That's kind of our thing. Months passed. The first exchange station was built near neutral space. Not large, not impressive, just open. Warm. Designed with humans and non-humans working side by side. Elias arrived as part of the initial team. Lyrai was already there. She stood near the entrance, her glow soft and welcoming. When she saw Elias, it brightened. Not dangerously, just honestly. They stopped a few steps apart. Neither spoke at first. "You came back," she said. I promised," Elias replied. Around them, other species watched from a distance, curious, nervous, hopeful. Lyrai took a careful step forward. "So did I," she said. They did not touch. They did not need to. The presence between them was enough. Over time, the station filled with quiet moments. Humans sitting with others, listening, sharing stories, letting emotion exist without demand. Some left early, overwhelmed, afraid. Others stayed and changed. The galaxy did not transform overnight. Fear did not vanish. Some worlds rejected the idea entirely. But something had cracked open. A truth could no longer be denied. Emotion was not the enemy. Isolation was. One evening, Elias and Liare stood by a wide viewport, stars stretching endlessly beyond the glass. "I once asked you why humans are not afraid of losing connection," Lyrai said. Elias nodded. "I remember. I understand now," she said. "Loss hurts, but never connecting hurts more." He smiled. "Yeah? That's the trade." She turned toward him, her eyes steady. "When I asked to be with you," she said quietly, "I did not mean closeness of body."
I meant sharing existence, even briefly.
"I knew," Elias said. "And you stayed," she said. Just once was enough to change everything. Elias looked out at the stars. "Sometimes," he said, "that's all it takes." They stood together, not touching, not separate.